and welcome to this special meeting of the Education and Neighborhoods Committee on Tuesday, April 13th at a little after 2 p.m. We're starting a little bit late today. I'm Paul Krikorian, the chair of the committee. We're joined today by Councilmember Tom LaBonge, who is a guest with us, who has a special interest in this issue as it impacts on his district. Welcome, Mr. LaBonge. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
And now we have a lot of people who want to speak on the matters that are on our agenda today. So I want to give a little bit of an overview to those of you who might not be familiar with the way we work. First of all, there is an overflow room next door. So if anybody can't find a seat and would like to sit next door, you'll be able to listen to the proceedings here. And when we call your name to speak, you'll be able to come over here to speak. The way we're going to proceed on this matter, well, you know what? First, let's introduce the matter if we could.
Sure. Item number one is consideration of an application to name a community Little Bangladesh. Item number two is consideration of an application to name a community Koreatown.
Now, I'm going to take those two matters together because they are interrelated. And the way we'll proceed with comment is I will ask the applicants to come up and discuss the proposal. I will then ask also for comment from the Chief Legislative Analyst, Mr. LaBonge's office, Mr. LaBonge, if you'd like, and the opposition to the application. And then we will go to public comment on that issue, on items number one and number two. Public comment speakers will be allowed 1 minute each. As you can see, we have many speakers here today, so we'll need to move through those fairly quickly. At the conclusion of the matter, there will also be the opportunity for general public comment. That can be on these issues or anything else that you want to talk about. But the first round of comment will be specific to these agenda items. And then general public comment will also be 1 minute per speaker. So I think we're ready to proceed. So why don't we ask, first of all, for any...
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian, and welcome everybody. Just I know you want to ask. I know. Does anyone want need any language translation? Okay, so if someone can help us out here because we have our budgets cut, who needs help? Right there, could someone who could understand English and translate for the gentleman, for the lady as well? Anyone for any other language? Everybody understand English? We don't have translators like we once did due to the budget crisis. Good afternoon. How many of the first visit to City Hall? Raise your hand. First visit to City Hall. So a few of you. How many have never been to the top of City Hall? So you've all been to the top? Okay, if you look for the top of City Hall, you can look out and see this great expanse of over 4,072 miles of square miles of the city of Los Angeles, a city that is extremely diverse in its population. Years and years ago, we developed a program to identify names of neighborhoods. The Wilshire Center, Hollywood, Watts, Sherman Oaks, San Pedro, Sylmar. Over the time, too, there was also a desire to have ethnic names, if you will, whether it was Chinatown, Little Tokyo, Historic Filipino Town, Little Armenia, Thai Town, etc. What we have here, Mr. Chair, is an opportunity in the Wilshire District, the historic Wilshire District, to have a sub-neighborhood area and a sub-neighborhood of a block of that area. That would be the area of Wilshire Center. Inside Wilshire Center, there would be an area called Koreatown. Inside that, there would be an area called Bangladesh, Little Bangladesh, Little Bangladesh. Now, as a council person who has a part of that area and I work with all council members who are involved, I always put our hands out for all people. So if anyone has any suggestions to be more inclusive, welcome to hear those suggestions. And I think, Ms. Krikorian, as you so well feel that you'll take under advisement this discussion today, and when your committee's in full, you could make a determination at some other date, because I think it's important, as you said, to have a balanced appeal. I'm not a voting member on this committee. So if you would like to call those who are the applicants, I think the largest one, just to explain, years ago, when they developed Koreatown, they just went out and placed the signs where they thought they should be. Since that time, there's a procedure. And so in that procedure, they're trying to catch up on the procedure. Could anybody explain the procedure from the city clerk's office or from the neighborhood? Who could explain the procedure?
Well, actually, I think
Who's in the purple right there? Excuse me. What department you're with? Yeah, would you please come and explain what's going on here and your general manager?
why
please?
don't we do that
Paul?
if we can in a,
Yeah.
in a moment?
Right. Well, just so everybody has that.
We're going to come back to that in just
Okay.
a moment, because we are going to go a little bit into the process at length.
All right, good. You got it.
If that meets.
I
with
just
your-
wanted to get an official explanation.
Yeah,
I could
we'll
explain
have
it.
that. We will
I
have
could
that.
explain it.
Yeah, go
Just
ahead and give your overview. And then
John
we'll-
Farrar was 6'5", Tom Bradley was 6'5". They went out on Olympic Boulevard and they put a sign up on the tallest, and that's where it was. And then in the interest of the city, people got engaged, and over the course of time, the people who live in high numbers, not in the majority numbers, but in high numbers, felt they wanted to have a piece of the city pie, a piece of the American pie for recognition, which I think is so important. So they applied for Little Bangladesh. And the Korean community was at the same time applying for that. So we walked out through the neighborhoods there, and we saw what would be maybe acceptable. And hopefully the committee will find that acceptable. But if others have suggestions, please express those suggestions. Because if you don't suggest it, there's no way the city could try to help out in any way possible. So I welcome that, and proceed as you will, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. And I need to say that, one of the things that makes Los Angeles extraordinary in the world, really, and unlike almost any other city in the world, is the incredible diversity that it has of people and communities who feel a stake in this city, who feel that this community, this city, is something that they have a part of and are a part of and form a part of. And that diversity makes this city unusual, I think, and probably unlike any other city, and it gives us strength. It also presents sometimes some challenges as we have conflicting interests among groups that each want to have recognition that sometimes is in conflict. And I have to say that in the case of the items that are before us today, Mr. Labange, you have really demonstrated tremendous leadership in trying to build consensus, build a unified vision for how to proceed with this matter. And I want to congratulate you on all the work that you've done. And I know it's been incredibly time intensive for you and your office to work with the communities, but that's really what this kind of process requires, and you've really demonstrated tremendous leadership in this. Now, as Mr. Labange said, there is also, because of the complexity of issues like this, whether it involves ethnic communities or simply just communities that are named, there are complexities involved in this that require a number of procedural steps by various city departments in order to assess the impacts of these changes. And in this case, I will say at the outset that not all of the city departments that need to comment on this and provide us with input have yet done so. And so we're going to be eager as a committee to hear from all of those departments to ensure that we've taken everyone's concerns into account, that we've taken all impacts into account, that we've had the full benefit of the weigh-in of our city departments and the professionals who are involved in the very processes that Mr. Labange described. Because it's no longer, I don't know about you, Mr. Labange, but I'm not 6'5", so I can't put signs up by myself. So I need help from those who can. So with that, why don't we proceed to hear first from the applicants. And I think we have Mr. Chang Lee, who is going to speak on behalf of the applicants today. Mr. Lee, welcome.
Mr. Chair, we have 7 speakers, so can we bring 7 speakers in the room? They are actually next door.
Yes. What we can do is provide 10 minutes for the applicants be sufficient, you think?
We have force.
So why don't we give 10 minutes to the applicants, which you can divide up however you would like among them, and then we'll also give the opportunity for 10 minutes from those who are in opposition, and then we'll proceed to other comments that there may be on this matter afterwards.
Thank you very much.
So while they're in the process of coming in, if you would like to begin, feel free.
Again, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Cheng Lee. I'm the chairman of the Korean American Federation of Los Angeles, which is an umbrella organization for the Korean American community. This process has started 15 months ago. We understand this is a very delicate process. And originally, as we started this, the process, we had initially suggested or proposed a larger area of the Koreatown boundary. And this was not, just something that we pulled out of the hat, but, we went to the community, got the general consensus, and got the blue line is the original boundary that we had proposed in the application. In the 15-month process, we had found out, and Councilman Labange was a big part of this, effort, that we spoke with many different neighborhoods, neighborhood councils, and that we had received some comments, and as a result, we have modified our boundary, which is a red line now, bordering on the northern side to be Beverly, eastern part to be Vermont, and southern part to be 11th Street, and the western part to be Western Avenue. So we have reduced quite a bit of this area from the original application, based on all the comments that we have received from the community. Obviously, we've tried in our efforts to reach out to the various communities. We've done that, but we may have missed some. And I know there are some concerned community here today, and I think that's mainly on the southern side. And then through our, presentation, you will see the projects that's going on in Koreatown, how we're actually beautifying, improving the community around that area, and why we feel that it is necessary for us to include this area in the boundary. Now, I want to mention that Koreatown, in the application it says renaming of Koreatown, but Koreatown name is there. It's been there on the city map for 4 decades. So we're not trying to name Koreatown. We're just trying to define where Koreatown lies, and that has never been done in the past. And through this process, we're trying to define what the boundary is for Koreatown. Now, there are some programs that will also help us to understand why we have chosen the boundary that we have proposed. So, next speaker that we have is Brian from Korean Youth Center, KYCC.
Good afternoon. In 2009, First Lady Michelle Obama designated Koreatown, as you see on the map, as one of the Preserve American communities. And these programs seek to actively involve all Americans in these communities to preserve America's heritage and increase the positive economic, educational, environmental, and cultural benefits to be able to preserve these specific communities. So Michelle Obama, Koreatown is one of the 26 that she did for this last year.
And following that, if you look at the first initial proposed boundaries for Koreatown, which was in blue, which we were able to modify after talking to the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council, the Pico Union Neighborhood Council, the Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council, going to various communities with the help of Councilman Labange, we were able to really modify this red, which is almost half the size of the original blue boundaries proposed. So we did take into consideration the comments that we received from our various neighbors surrounding us in Koreatown. And as everyone knows, Koreatown is highly mixed and highly diverse. And we believe that we've come to a very good compromise with our Bangladeshi community also residing within the same boundaries. And so we're hopeful that we will have a good resolution from this committee. And I have other fellow speakers here with us who are in the next room. So Bradley and Alex Cha, I believe Nikki. Those of you who are also speaking, we've got 6 minutes and counting left, so please get into this room. Thank you.
For your reference, the boundary that was approved under Preserve America program is the same boundary as of the Wilshire Koreatown Neighborhood Council, which actually this boundary that we're proposing is smaller than Wilshire Koreatown Neighborhood Council boundary. Now, the southern part is actually borderline of the Council District 1 and Council District 10. So we had met with Councilman Edways, and his office is fine with, because we're not penetrating into his council district. City 10 is supportive of this proposal, so as City 4, Councilman LaBanche. So, with the interest of all these other communities right now, I think the interest is at that 11th Street, and then that's what we're trying to show, what projects that we have here. And we have Jay Kim and Nikki Cho. Yeah, Jay Kim, please. Yeah, come on, please. This is going to talk about Olympic Streetscape project. That's right here on Olympic Boulevard. Sorry, yeah, please.
Nice. Hi. Good afternoon. Okay. My name is Jay Hyunchul Kim. I represent a Chamber of Commerce in Koreatown. This is my first time kind of sitting in this kind of place, a little bit nervous, but glad to see you, gentlemen. So leaders of local and federal government has recognized the great accomplishment of Korean communities' economic growth through their years and years of hard work and their rich cultural heritage by approving the beautification project of Olympic Boulevard, by allocating $4 million city fund and $2 million from the federal. And this project on this boulevard will build many cultural design structures, which include building the east and west gate, which reflects the traditional architectural themes of the community, and replacing parts of a pavement that will also reflect the Korean architectural themes, cultural themes, and planting many trees. Again, that's traditionally the flora of the Korean Peninsula. This design was materialized through a steep competition from many renowned the designers of the city, and many rounds of community hearings. And I guess my time is up.
Hi, my name is Nikki Cho, and I'm on behalf of Korean American Chamber of Commerce of Los Angeles. And I want to talk about the senior housing that's right behind Daejeong, located at Olympic in Normandy. So here's the picture of Daejeong here. And even though the size of the Daejeong is very small, its style and its form and its designs are all in Korean, traditional Korean form. So it's a symbolic meaning of symbolic meaning among the Korean people.
Just to interrupt for a second, you're supposed to use the easel because you're blocking the view of the public. So you're being very nice, and if you do, you could share the public. Thank you.
You could even bring them back here if we haven't. Do we have an easel?
Yeah, it's very significant among Korean people in Los Angeles. And behind the Daejeong, there is a Korean senior housing that is being constructed right now. And in order to make a better environment around that area, we are redeveloping the side street, making it cleaner and safer. And I believe that this kind of project will definitely improve the community.
Good if you can walk it back so the guests could see it. We don't need to see it. We can see it from here. Walk it back so the public could see it.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Alex Cha. I currently work in Koreatown and live in downtown Los Angeles. In the past 10, 20 years, we've seen great urbanization and beautification of downtown, largely to the works of Business Improvement District And in Koreatown at this time, there's one business improvement district in Wilshire. Currently, we're working on having the second bid in Olympic Avenue right now. The reason why we're asking for the southern 11th Street as part of Koreatown is because part of that is also included in the Olympic bid. And therefore, if we don't have the 11th Street as Koreatown, then the Olympic bid would be divided. So we urge you to include that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. It's great to be here, and thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to speak to you all. My name is Bradley, and I'm from Wilshire Center, Koreatown Neighborhood Council. The Koreatown map that was proposed and designated and requested to be designated as Koreatown had been carved out many times, and we had town hall meetings with the Korean American community, and also council member Tom LaBonge was gracious enough to have several meetings with other community leaders and the members, and that had been discussed over the time, over the period. Now, City of Los Angeles recognized Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council as a recognized map, and then in fact that Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council encompasses and includes a larger area than what we are proposing at this point in time. So I think it continues to be recognized, and people around the world, if you go in and Google and Yahoo and everywhere you push in Koreatown, there have been at least more than 200 Koreatowns around the world, but what it shows is Los Angeles Koreatown on all these internet web searches and so forth. So we will be consistent. Thank you so much for your support. And
so,
effort.
Mr. Chair, just to let you know, this application shows from Beverly Boulevard on both sides down Beverly to, from Melrose down Western all the way to the back of the property line, not into any of the historic neighborhoods. There was a strong interest in having a church that is a big institution to the Korean people at Oakwood in this area here. It's that little spot that goes up. And then it's Beverly by Vermont by 11th Street, based on your discussion with the council member,
And
Mr.
the
Weston.
idea that we're creating.
I got it, but you didn't discuss that with
Right.
me.
Yes.
Because we had it at Olympic.
Right.
Okay, we got that. So this is what the Koreatown application is. And I would just suggest, since we have a number of community meetings, if you want to get public comment on that application, and then there's another application for Little Bangladesh, which would be there. I will tell you, so everyone knows, and you may not even know this, Paul, but Hollywood, do you know the official boundaries of Hollywood? If you went up at the map, and it's Doheny on the west, Hyperion on the east, Melrose on the south, Mulholland and Griffith Park on the north. But in there's a variety of sub-areas, including Little Armenia, and in there's a sub-area, a Thai town, East Hollywood, Spalding Square, Sunset Square, Laurel Canyon, etc. So it's an interesting thing. So I think if we got that application to try to review, that's what's there before you. But I think we should comment on that first before we go what would be a sub-area, so you could see the variety of opinion that is here. There's a lot of people for it, and this application for the other area was a sub-area, was somewhat of a compromise based on the fact that there another, again, I do believe in separation of church and state, but church, mosque, temples are an important institution. There's a very important institution on Vermont for the Islamic community, but in working with everybody out, they found what was an option that would work for them, and hopefully we could all agree. Whatever you proceed.
Well, thank you. And as I mentioned, I know you've done yeoman's work in trying to take into account all the little details like that that really make a big difference to individuals and to communities. So as I mentioned at the outset, how we're going to proceed. We've heard 10 minutes from the applicants. I'd now like to hear 10 minutes from the opponents of this application. Then we will go to the application on Little Bangladesh and any opposition to that, because we're hearing the matters together. And then we will hear other comment that the public may wish to offer on these two items together. So why don't we go now to 10 minutes to, thank you, Mr. Lee, thank you all.
Thank you,
10 minutes for the opponents of this item number 2. And if if there isn't any organized opposition, that's fine. We do have cards in opposition, which we will get to later. It's entirely. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. My name is Oscar Dominguez, for the records. I represent two organizations, the Hispanic United Brotherhood USA and also the Chamber of Commerce of El Salvador, California. And I definitely oppose of this proposal because what they're trying to do is expanding the borders of Koreatown. As you may know, there is a wheelchair district proposal that's already approved. Within those wheelchair projects, there was already the specification of what is Koreatown. And I'm glad for you to take a look at that proposal, the wheelchair. And what we think also is that the Latino community has not been included to actually hear about this project. We hear this at the last minute. And I'm surprised that Mr. Tom LaBanche is saying that the majority of the people over here are in support of Koreatown. And I would like to say, can you stand up the people that are against? ¿Se pueden parar toda la gente que está en contra? Our Latino community are the majority in this area, and we haven't been included to be part of it. Thank you.
I'm going to make it very short. We're here, yes, to oppose the proposal. Secondly, we want time. Thirdly, we'd like a dialogue. We would like this committee not to make a decision at this time because I feel that, and that's my personal feeling, that if we speak with the Korean community, then we can come to a real understanding. What is happening here is that our community is not totally clear as to what the boundaries are, even though they're put that way. We need time. That's what some of us are asking.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Councilman, the biggest thing today is to Raul Claros, co-founder of MENLA and the Salvadoran American Democratic Club. The reason that we're here today, more than anything else, was first to get clarification. These borders have been changed, turned upside down numerous of times. We have a great working relationship with the Korean community, in my opinion. This has nothing to do with race or anything. Born and raised in Koreatown and Pico Union myself, I've been exposed to the best of both worlds. To be able to go down to Seoul Park and start my little league career there at formerly known as Ardmore Park, as you know, Councilman LaBanche, back in 1985, as well as being able to enjoy the great food down Olympic Boulevard. I understand and recognize Olympic Boulevard as Koreatown, but I also recognize 11th Street, where I grew up at for the first 21 years of my life on Ardmore and 11th, as the Harbor Heights area, and then when you go up to Pico, as Pico Union. Sir, you being a historian that you are of the city of Los Angeles, you understand how dear Pico Union is to me in my heart. And when we have another community naming that a different name, it's a big concern. So all I'm asking for is for a decision to be postponed today so that we can have the opportunity to have dialogue. We have reached out to Korean leaders to be able to set up a meeting, hopefully by next week, so that we can have this dialogue and then move forward as a collective one community of the city of Los Angeles and the state of California.
Madam Clerk, hold the time for a second, just for a second there. The original plan did go to Union Avenue, original plan, and I said, no way. Your councilman, who does a great job, Ed Reyes, said, no way. Excuse me. Okay? So we did take into consideration of that, what traditionally was felt to be Koreatown. But we are listening all the time. And as the chairman said, this is all testimony they could take under advisement. He's going to make this decision in the future time based on that. And I think you should ask us to have more community meetings if you think it's necessary. Thank you. Back on the clock, back to the comments.
Good afternoon, honorable council members. I want to express my concern on the concerns of many residents of the Pico Union area of the city of Los Angeles. My name is Eric Martin. I'm the current vice president of the Pico Union Neighborhood Council. On April 6, 2009, which is the minute you have in front of you, we had the applicant of the Koreatown Boundary Committee, Mr. Chang Lee, come give a presentation of the expansion of Koreatown and what the new proposed boundaries would be. We had an overwhelming response and turnout from the Pico Union community and surrounding neighborhood councils like the United Neighborhoods Historic Arlington Heights, West Adams, and Jefferson Park, and MacArthur Park Neighborhood Council, which strongly oppose the expansion, which are reflective in the minutes that are in front of you today. Since then, the proposal has changed numerous times, and the new boundaries have not been submitted to the city clerk's office. According to the city clerk's office website, no modifications have been submitted, and the original application, which is right here and registered with the city clerks, still recognizes the old boundaries of the proposed project. The community at hand does not know the new boundaries until we've seen them today at this public meeting, and we've been asking the council district 4 to give us information, which they did send to us last night before the meeting. We asked the community today to deny the application until more community input is incorporated, which it affects. As Angelinos and residents of the city of Los Angeles, we should be taken into consideration when this will drastically affect the communities at hand. For the record, I would like to read the minutes of the Pico Union Neighborhood Council, which were approved as a reflection of the meeting that occurred on April 2009. Presentation of the proposed Koreatown boundaries, 10 minutes. Proposal is to place boundaries from Melrose, Beverly, Wilton, Crenshaw to Pico East to Hoover. Korean American Federation Los Angeles has acquired $20,000 to $50,000 in the federal grant money to construct and post kiosks to promote Koreatown tourism, which I believe is the Michelle Obama program. The Korean American Federation Los Angeles used existing Koreatown maps to draft a new set of boundaries which overlaps with neighboring communities, including Pico Union. Some of the board member comments were, Susanna says that we need to discuss this item further. Frank Greenfield, previous president, doesn't like the idea of cutting up the city with boundaries and needs to focus more on bringing the community together. I stated the boundaries are a very loaded term and can divide communities. Jane says Pico Union, one of the first suburbs. Koreatown initially wanted to go down to Pico, and this informative group fought it, and Koreatown seceded. Mark Lee, the president of the Pico Union Neighborhood Council, asked, what effect will the boundary change have on the Pico Union Neighborhood Council? Chang Lee response was none. Purpose of setting the boundary is to be able to ask for federal grants. This isn't a turf or a territorial war. The money will be allocated to Pico Union in form of kiosks to describe the neighborhood, but one isn't proposed for this area yet. Chang Lee says that our board has to do a respond and an impact statement. Public comments from that meeting. Jean Black, this is an area that is not strictly Korean. Carmen Vaughn, which we have here today. The city is for everyone. We will not allow or accept the expansion of boundaries. Jim Grace, we do not need a kiosk or any more tour buses. We need to be inclusive, not exclusive. And Raul Ramos, youth advocate of Berendel Middle School. The name of Pico Union is dear to his heart and should not focus on so much on names. For the record, the new boundaries that were proposed today, which actually go south of Olympic, and it goes into the neighborhood boundary, which is highlighted in the affidavit in front of you guys. It encompasses part of Pico Union. So I know that within council districts, we're not necessarily involved, but part of the process is to go to the immediate neighborhood council and the surrounding neighborhood councils to get their input. The community, this organization only came to our neighborhood once, and with the old presentation, and we just feel that we have an open dialogue and more community input, including all the boundaries that it's going to affect. Thank you.
Hermanos y hermanas, autoridades de este lugar,
Brothers and sisters and authorities that are here today,
como mujer maya y representando una multiculturalidad que vive en Pico Union, Westlake,
as a representative of the Mayan community that represents Pico Union and Westlake,
y hermanos mexicoamericanos también, indígenas oaxaqueños, mixtecos en su mayoría,
as well as the Mayan tribes from Guatemala and the Aztec tribes and indigenous tribes from Mexico,
al igual que otras culturas que no están presentes,
as well as other communities that could not be here today,
bajo los términos de la justicia y la equidad,
under jurisdictions and legal matters.
Vengo a solidarizarme y a abogar por nuestros hermanos, por todos nosotros los hispanos latinos que vivimos en esta área, que estamos en una desventaja económica a la par de nuestros hermanos coreanos.
I'm here to just advocate on behalf of all of the Latino community who is suffering from this budget crisis inside of our community as well as the Koreatown community.
Pero también somos muy generosos y respetuosos con su inteligencia y su creatividad.
We're also very respectful to all of the entrepreneurship and creativity that all communities are presenting.
No tenemos enojo ni tenemos, sino simplemente nos venimos a tocarles la conciencia a cada uno de ustedes, las autoridades, que consideren ese espacio como un área donde hay una multiculturalidad mexicoamericana, centroamericana y sudamericana.
All we're asking here today is that you recognize the diversity in this community that has been targeted as a multicultural community, not solely an exclusive community that represents one, rather that represents many, including the Mexican, Guatemalan, and other Central and Southern American ethnic groups.
Ellos han tomado ventaja de conocer el proceso, cómo moverse. Nosotros apenas comenzamos a aprender.
We understand that the Korean community has mobilized, and they should be applauded for their mobilization and their efforts, but we are now starting to wake up to this process. We're very new to this process, and we are now going through that process here today.
Y tocamos la conciencia de nuestros hermanos coreanos de verdad y de que nosotros no queremos nada de pleito, sino que al contrario, un diálogo y que nos respetemos, ¿verdad?
And in our most humble way, we would like to let our Korean brothers and sisters know that we are here today not to confront anyone or to start any kind of battles, but rather to ask them to please join us at the table and include us in any type of decisions that will impact all of our communities.
Y bajo el permiso de mis abuelos mayas, y con el agradecimiento de mis abuelos mayas, yo les pido disculpas si en algún momento cometí algún error al hablar o no se entendió mi mensaje, pero en mi corazón traemos la paz y buscamos el diálogo. Muchas gracias.
On behalf of all of our ancestors, I'd like to apologize if at any point we have offended anyone in any way by coming here today to oppose any kind of proposition or proposal, but we are here in our most humble way to just let our voices be heard.
All right, thank you all very much. Now we will come back for additional public speakers on these items, but why don't we go now to the applicants on the Little Bangladesh proposal to come up and present for 10 minutes. And then if there's any opposition to that proposal, we'll come back following that.
Mohammed, you need 10 minutes, you need 5 minutes. Here, gentlemen, you don't have to move the chairs. Just take one other and change positions. I originally came up with the concept. See, these guys really wanted something. The Koreans weren't helping these guys at all. So I said, okay. I came originally international. But they really wanted from
Mr. Chairman, good afternoon. And council member, all Mr. Tom Lawans. We represented for the Little Bangladesh. You know, our country is a very small country, but we're living in this area about like 30 to 40 years. I've been living over there 30 years. And there's a small community, but it's a very peaceful community. We live with the other peoples, like a multicultural, like we have a Spanish people there, Korean people, and other community like a Guatemala. And so far, we don't have any problem with that area. We try to make the naming from New Hampshire to Alexandria is 6 blocks between if you go to 30th Street to East Alexandria, the 6th block, we like to make the naming that Little Bangladesh. And we have about 7,000 to 8,000 people that lives over there. And we have a small business established over there, like a restaurant and some other businesses there. And our kids, they go to school over there. So we have been, it was a very quiet community, living with the other community peoples there. And I think this is this time that we make the naming Little Bangladesh, and which is we carry in our identity that we're from Bangladesh, and our next generation, they're going to remember that area that we live. So we're requesting from our from Bangladesh community, consider to make a name Little Bangladesh, and which is like we have some other places. You can see that in the Hollywood area we have Little Armenia, and also they have a Thai town, and Philippine town, and we have like other towns there, Ethiopia. So I believe this is the time maybe we can name that Little Bangladesh, and we have no problem at all with the other ethnics and the other community. Like I mentioned to you, this is our very small community, peaceful community, and we're requesting, asking for council that please make the name this one. Thank you very much.
Just for the record, I believe it's 6 blocks. It's west
block,
of,
right.
No, it's 4 blocks. New Hampshire,
New Hampshire, Alexandria.
Berendo,
Alexandria.
Catalina, Kenmore, Alexandria, Mariposa, but before Mariposa. Okay.
My name is Mujib Siddiqui. I'm the chairperson of Bangladesh Association of California, Los Angeles chapter. And Mr. Chair, I have been nominated by 600-700 community members on the record to speak on their behalf, so I'm speaking on my behalf in addition to the people I represent here. First of all, I thank you, Mr. Chair, in your busy schedule to put this agenda in the item. To expand a little bit on what Mr. Shamim said, we have from this little strip and immediate surrounding areas from Vermont to New Hampshire, and actually it expanded up to Sereno, but based on an agreement with Korean community at the moderation of Mr. Lavon's office, we agreed up to the on the 3rd Street from New Hampshire to Alexandria. So within this area, we have about 6 ethnic eateries, 10 specialty and grocery stores, market, hardware store, cultural center, weekend schools, place of worship, community doctors, lawyers, consultants on tax, travel, insurance, and other services are right there on 3rd Street and immediate surrounding areas, and a huge number of Bangladeshi concentration in that area. There are few surveys or records which says about 50,000 Bangladeshis live in the greater Los Angeles. And the most concentrated area, if anybody drives from the 3rd Street, you will see always the addresses of Bangladeshi people moving from here and there. And as regards, there are some, it's not exactly the character, it's not like the Thai town that it is all concentrated in one area. It started from Vermont to Serrano. And the non-Bangladeshi vendors or shop owners, they're very sensitive to the needs of our people. So you will see in every single store, they're selling the cards that the Bangladeshis buy, calling card. And many of them, they will ask you when they see you, Kamonacho, which actually means, how are you? So this is a place we all live together, and we do our cultural and religious things together. And Honorable Councilman, and he has, like you mentioned by yourself, he has taken a long route to resolve the dispute between the two communities. They reduced their portion, and we reduced it from few blocks to just one street, confined to 4 blocks. We came here, we have a distinct, feature here in this city. We came here from 15,000 miles away, other side of the globe. So we are not claiming any territory here. This is just symbolic. Once we have it, we can embrace this city like all other ethnic communities embraced here, Little Armenian and other people. So, and if you see the other side of the room, there are a lot of enthusiastic people from our community who are also very much eagerly looking forward to this decision. And I will address one issue here that we are not here to see that this place is belong to them, belong to others. In every single neighborhood, there is mix. So if you talk about exclusivity, maybe Boyle Heights could be the only place where we can say that 99% of one ethnic group lives. Other than that, it's all mixed. In cosmopolitan cities like this, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of this city, that we embrace all culture. We try all food. So when in all other areas of the country there are racial tensions, people move to either New York or to California because this is home for the immigrants. So to have an issue that exclusivity is a point, then I think we have to revisit those kind of argument. But one thing I would also say though, that as regards the what? Okay, excuse me, you distracted me. Anyway, yeah, that's okay. Anyway, I will ask for the opportunity to the reversal of few moments, if I could, as this gentleman distracted me. Very kindly, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mujib. Sorry, because we have 10 minutes allocated. We've got few gentlemen here, so that's why. Okay, my name is Jalil Khan. I'm a transportation engineer working for the California Department of Transportation. As you have seen, the 20 engineers came from next door. We work here, and we're 150 engineers working for Caltrans, and we make sure the California has the mobility and the safety. And matter of fact, we put the sign also. As all the speaker mentioned, I'll make it short and sweet, that this little Bangladesh or Koreatown, any town, it's about the Hollywood, it's about the business. People come from all the 50 states. They look for where the little Bangladesh is. That's about the business. And sorry, Honorable Congress, Councilman, Mr. Tom Lavins and Chair, you all know that we are negotiating for a long time with the Korean community, and we all are in agreement. And this is all symbolic, as Mujib mentioned, as Shamim mentioned. So we are asking the symbolic place. And as all you know that Mujib mentioned that we go to Chinese food. Most of the people like Chinese food, so they come to Bangladesh food. And you all are welcome too. But anyway, this is about business. This is about living together. We are a diversified community, multicultural. And that's we all are asking. It's a symbolic representation of the Bangladesh community. And I think everybody is in agreement. And since we have only 1 minute left, I'll let it go. And the next speaker, please speak up.
How much time do I have?
54 seconds.
54 seconds. You speak first.
Thank you very much. Honorable Tom Laband and Chairperson, all of you, thank you for coming today to invite us. We are from Bangladesh community. I live in Los Angeles City. I represent Bangladesh American Democratic Party. I am the organizing secretary of Los Angeles. And there is a 50,000 Bangladeshi people live in 30th Street and Greater Los Angeles. And 1967, the first Bangladeshi come in 30th Street. This is that call is Veranda Street and New Hampshire. And I remember when I moved from New York in 1982, from New York to Los Angeles, I met some guy. He already passed away. He died in 1969. And the first Bangladeshi live in that street. Then day by day, we are independent country, 1971. We are together with the Pakistan. The call is East Pakistan, or we are from the East and West Pakistan. But we are independent in 1971. About 30 million people killed. But after the liberation, the people from most of our country people, they come to this United States with all the student visa for the different engineer, doctors, and professor and other all. Then today, you just come here. We are very peaceful people. we used to live with all the Korean people, and Korea is very close to Bangladesh. This is Asia, and especially for myself and my country people, they love Spanish is the second language in Los Angeles, in United States, and I call whole cities the Spanish. Yeah, but this is from Guatemala, Salvador, Honduras, Peru, Chile, Haiti, all is Spanish, right? And this is good for us. Our neighbor is Spanish. We learn the Spanish. We love love Spanish culture. We love the Korean culture. We love Korean food. We love Spanish food. And my last request to you guys, this is very request to all of you. We are minority. We are new country. Sir, we just came in only 50, 40 years ago. We'd like to request to just give us little Bangladesh time. Thank you very much, all of you. God bless you.
Thank you. All right, now, if there are opponents to this proposal, you may come forward now, unless your comments were already addressed earlier.
Good afternoon.
Good
My
afternoon.
name is Francisco Rivera, and I'm the president of the National Central American Roundtable. And I am the applicant for a record in the city clerk and the city of Los Angeles for the naming or renaming of Westlake Pico Union as Historical Little Central America or Historical Central American Town. And there is also in record another application by Ms. Duelmi Ruiz designing the same area as Central American Cultural District. You know, my first comment is that this is good. This is very healthy dialogue, you know, discussion. It's about our ethnic root and our ethnic pride. And I should congratulate Council Member Kerkorian. You know, because of the definite support from his community, he got elected for the 2nd district in the city of Los Angeles. Good. And he's so lucky that had a meteorical ascendancy, you know, being assigned to the Plum Committee and being chair of this committee, which is an important committee. So, sir, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Definitely, we want to have our little towns in the city of Los Angeles. There is, I mean, come on, there are more than 25 monikers, right, Mr. LaBonche? So it's something to celebrate. But it calls my attention that in the application, this was submitted October 23, 2008. I submitted the application on May 8th of 2007, and it was profiled in the Los Angeles Times, you know, the story about the designation. So, and because of the previous matter of Koreatown, you know, so my suggestion is, as they said, is that we need to have a dialogue. So please do not take any action this afternoon, this committee. Send this back, you know, for further study, and we will have all this inter-dialogue with all the communities. And, you know, and the Bangladeshi community, they will have the little Bangladesh. We will have our little Central America. There will be the Salvadoran community corridor. And all of us, you know, we're going to be happy. I eat a lot of kimchi, and I bet some Koreans, they eat curtido, you know, that goes with the pupusas. So let's celebrate being multi-ethnic and multicultural. This is a great city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. I'd like to ask the CLA representative to come forward. First, in response, Mr. LaBonge raised the issue earlier about the formal processes that are involved in making a name change like this. Is this? And I'd like you to comment, please, on that process generally. What steps are involved, what city agencies are involved, and then what the status is on those reports back on these particular applications.
Mr. Chairman, Paul Smith from the CLA. Generally, the council established a naming policy in January 2006. Two parts to that policy. One is a application that is provided by the applicant. Some applicants, it has information blocks for the applicant himself, the community, description of the community, the graphic of the boundaries. Second is a petition is involved. Generally 500 signatures from the community members. If the population of the geography is, I think, less than 2,500, it has to be 20% of that. It has for signatures. Once that has been established, both the application and the petition, they're submitted to the city clerk. The city clerk opens a council file on that, gives it a number. And also, secondly, it forwards the application and to various departments for report back. I think the city clerk's land records division is asked to report. BOE, Bureau of Engineering, Planning, Transportation, and the CRA. It's in that affected area. In this matter, and the clerk can tell me if I'm wrong or not, I think we have 2 BOE reports. I think we have Land Records Management has a report, but we have not yet heard from Planning, Transportation, and from the CRA. Those would be useful pieces of information for you to have in this process. And I think at the end of this, if all those reports were brought together, I think the clerk provides a summary document of what is before you, probably the graphics and maybe the recommendations coming out of those individual departments. Right now, we look like we're in a process where we've heard from the community. There's application petitions. There's some competing interests here. We have not heard from the other departments yet, and I believe you would want to do that before you make a decision on this matter.
Planning, Transportation, and the CRA have yet to offer comment. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And Mr. Labange, I'd like to invite you to make any other comments you'd like to make, but specifically, if you could address the issue that some of the speakers talked about in terms of outreach. I know that there has been a significant amount of outreach to neighborhood councils and so on.
Well,
through your
well,
office.
there's
Can you
never
talk a
a
little
good
bit to
enough
that?
outreach if anyone feels they haven't been reached out to.
Right.
So some people feel they haven't been reached out to. I think this has been a great hearing. I think there's a spirit of cooperation here to define what should be. I think you need these reports from the other departments. I'll be happy to work with the community leadership to what we need to do is say, do we feel this is acceptable, whatever is proposed? That's an empty sheet of paper, so there's no proposal there. What is proposed for all the areas, and then work from that. So Nikki Azari is here, my deputy, who many of you know. I'm going to proceed to the district because we have a meeting about the city's finances at our city hall in Hollywood at 6501 Fountain right now, and the budget crisis, etc. So if you want to take this for 60 days, because I don't know when these departments are going to get back to you. When do you expect them back, Paul, these reports?
Yes, I would think so. But I think you could shorten that time period if you really wanted to. 30 days back would be probably sufficient. Okay.
Well, my inclination would be to follow that recommendation, Mr. Labange, because I think 60 days gives not only an opportunity for our departments to comment back, but it gives opportunity for the community to come together as well and have further discussion.
Mr. Smith was wrong in saying 30 days, Mr. Smith.
Hey, I'll admit it.
I know. He's a very good man from the CLA. I'm okay. Here's the situation, too. There's ongoing crisis of our budget, which engages both. I've been in more meetings inside City Hall than in all of last year in the first 3.5 months of now. That being said, we look forward to working with everybody to try to find it out, and we will have the meeting in the community so people don't have to come downtown. But I will say, for those of you who haven't been downtown lately, before you leave, go to the tower. Look over this great city of Angels, who was founded 228 years ago by 44 people who walked 9 miles to the banks of the Los Angeles River to create the City of Angels. And there's angels in this room. Thank you, Mr.
44 people from a variety of ethnicities. Thank you very much, Mr. Tom Labange.
Let's thank Mr. Krikorian, who does such a good job.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Labange has left the building. All right, if we can have order here for a moment, please, folks, before we conclude. We're not yet concluded. Thank you, Mr. Labange, for your work on this. Thank you for visiting with us. My inclination is to proceed as Mr. Labange has requested, with a continuance of 60 days, with the understanding that will be for the purpose of getting comment back from our city departments and to allow additional opportunity for public interaction among the communities to try to develop a consensus view, which I'm hopeful that with Mr. Labange's continuing assistance, you'll be able to achieve. That's my inclination, but we still have the opportunity for additional public comment. So if you would still like to be heard on these two matters, we're going to go to that now. So why don't we start with, and in this portion of the public comment, each speaker will be allowed 1 minute, because we still do have quite a number of speakers. And we will start with Mr. Brad Lee, followed by Byron Shinyama. Okay, thank you. Mr. Lee, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having me back. I just wanted to point out a few things that, as Council Member Tom Labange has indicated, 6 foot 5 inches tall gentlemen they did put the sign up there in Koreatown, wherein thereafter it was not effectuated, and it kind of faded away, and then it was never officially designated by the city of LA. We don't want that to happen again. I mean, this has been going on for about 15 months, and we're just still at a point where we're not being able to keeping doing that, and then we.
Excuse me, Mr. Lee. We need to have order, please, ladies and gentlemen. I'm having difficulty hearing Mr. Lee. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'd like to put this through the process and being able to get it through, and also. When this PICO Union Labor Council's agenda and a minute was read to you, Mr. Councilman, the chairman, that it was dated April 6th of 2009. So we should have a lot of time to have a dialogues in between. So hopefully in the future we don't delay any of the processes or dialogues. So we can have a responsive kind of a dialogues going back and forth and so forth.
Thank you. Thank you. And just for the sake of the record, my inclination would be to have heard this much more quickly than that, but given the restrictions of our city departments and their staffs now, I agree that it's probably more realistic to expect them to be able to report back within 60 days. But I would not expect any additional continuations of this. I would expect that the communities who want to be heard will have been heard by then. The city departments who want to weigh in will have weighed in by then, and this committee will proceed at that time.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
And it's great to see you as not only a councilman and but also a Mr. Chairman of this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Our next speaker is Seong Cho. And is Seong Cho here? Okay, I think Seong Cho has already spoken? Okay, great, thank you. Then our next speaker will be, and I'm going to apologize in advance to everyone of every ethnicity for my pronunciation of your names. I apologize. I know what it's like, believe me. So, but I'm going to do my best. So our next speaker is Maminul Haq Bachu, followed by Mahbub Khan. You've already spoken. Thank you. Followed by Mahbub Khan, followed by Kandakar Alam. And before you speak, sir, just for the sake of discussion, anybody who doesn't want to speak now, there will be another opportunity when we're back here in 60 days. So if you would like to speak still, you're welcome to. If you'd rather speak then, that's fine as well. So, Mr. Khan.
My name is Dr. Mahbub Khan. I am a professor of physics, and I am a community volunteer of Bangladesh community here in Los Angeles area. We applied for Little Bangladesh in the fall of 2008. That was before the Korean community actually officially applied. When they found out that we applied, then we went into a dialogue. We had a lot of discussions and meetings, and we came up with a compromise, and we reduced our area that we originally requested for. And what we heard today is that there are other communities who have certain concerns. So we are all open, we are very accommodating, and we are going to work with all the communities, Central America and other Spanish community and any other communities to come up with a decision that everybody is happy and comfortable with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. That's the kind of spirit that will get this done, I think. Our next speaker is Kandakar Alam, followed by Farhana Saeed, followed by Dr. M.A. Hashem.
Yes, my name is Kandakar Alam. I am presently the president of Bangladesh Unity Federation of Los Angeles. I am happy to hear this event over here. And I thought we already get the Bangladesh community, but still in the dialogue now. I respect my little Bangladesh community, and we like our identity in our community to grow the economical growth in the Los Angeles. Same way, same time also, other community like Hispanic and Korean, they have a right to get their community identity too. So I respect all of the community beside my community. So my request will be, please consider our little Bangladesh town as beside the other community. That's all the community who can put the effort to the Los Angeles economical growth, that way the greater American economical growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Farhana Saeed, followed by Dr. M.A. Hashem.
Hello, good afternoon, folks. My name is Farhana Saeed. I'm a community member of Bangladeshi community. Personally, I work for the County of Los Angeles, and I love to be here. Los Angeles is such a place, you know, it's the world. I would rather say that after New York, this is the most, attractive tourist spot. So Bangladesh, we have a very rich culture and heritage. Just to let you know, the language we speak, it calls Bengali. This is the world most spoken 6th language, and this is the international language of the world now. I guess you know that, like some 3-4 years ago, this is declared as the international language of the world by the United Nations. So I would love to share my joy and heritage with everyone else here, the food, the culture, the music, and everyone. And I would appreciate, and I pray and hope to God that you'll consider this application. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker will be Dr. M.A. Hashem, followed by Isabel Cardenas, followed by Carmen Vaughn.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Hashem.
My name is Dr. Hashem, and I'm a Bangladeshi dentist in this area in Koreatown, including this little Bangladesh area. And I was the former president of BAFLA, that is Bangladesh Unity Federation of Los Angeles, and also president of Uttaran, a cultural group of Bangladesh. And my practice is in Vermont and Olympic Avenue. We've been trying to name our Bangladeshi, naming the Bangladesh in this area, like 3rd Street between Vermont and Western. That is our original plan. And first time when we submitted the initial application, like back in 2008, that is our demand to have a demarcation line as in a little Bangladesh, like South Wilshire, North 3rd Street, West Western, and East Vermont. Finally, we have a tremendous communications and conversations between these two communities, Korean and Bangladeshi communities, and finally we come up our decisions that we won on 3rd Street between Vermont and Normandy. I'd like to say something about the Bangladeshi community. On back 1970.
Thank you. I'm sorry, sir. We have many speakers still to speak.
Thank you.
But your written comments would be welcome, and you'll be welcome to come back when we're back here again in 60 days. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next, and I'd like to ask our speakers to come up as I name your name. So I'd like to have 2 or 3 people waiting to speak because we still have a lot of people to go through. So the next speaker is Isabel Cardenas, followed by Carmen Vaughn, followed by Miguel Amaya.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Isabel Cardenas. I am a Salvadoran activist. I have been in the community for many, many years. I'm 71 years old. I started my community activism in 1960 when I was just a 20-year-old. And I know that this is a beautiful city. There are many cultures. And I would just like to say, hearing the brothers from Bangladesh speak, that they also want to be to have their culture shared with the rest of us. There is a big difference, however, when someone says they want 4, 6 blocks, but when someone wants a territory that is so large, I mean, like the Koreatown, for instance, proposal. I mean, they're talking about a really large area. My concern is, and with all due respect, is that I want to make sure, and I know that the rest of the people in the Latino coalition that are here, we want to make sure that if you are going to conduct any meetings, that if anything is going to be done, that it is on the website, that we are sure.
Thank you, ma'am. Just for clarification, this committee will not be conducting any other hearings until we come back with an agendized hearing 60 days from now in City Hall. We will not be running community meetings. That will be up to the community to do, and Mr. LeBlanche's
Yes, no,
office.
I know that. My question is,
I'm sorry.
excuse me, my question
no, I'm
is,
sorry.
how will
time's
we,
expired.
how we want to make
Ma'am,
sure.
I'm sorry. I have to keep moving through this.
okay.
I'm sorry. The next speaker is Carmen Vaughn, followed by Miguel Amaya, followed by Leonardo Magana.
Hi, my name is Carmen Vaughn. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you. I'm living in the area of Pico Union for the last 35 years. All my kids growing there. I love my community. We're working very hard to have a better life in there, and we really did. We're doing very good job. Pico Union is getting better. But I have a big concern. We all have to work like brothers and sisters, all nationalities. We all work together. But one thing I just don't like, that the people come and try to change the names. The people have the name for many, many years ago. Why don't we call Naciones Unidas, Nationalities United, instead of calling different names? I like to work with all together as a family. But one thing I really don't like, when they include us and don't let us be in their meetings. And just one thing, on Pico Union Neighborhood Council, they attend, we never say to Koreatown, yes, you can go all the way to 11th Street. Okay. That is not true.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Miguel Amaya, who I understand has left. Okay, so the next speaker then will be Leonardo Magana, followed by, put my glasses back on, Gilberto Portillo, followed by Henry F. Is Leonardo Magana here? Okay, well then, is Mario Diaz here? Jairo Gaitan Ortiz. Roger Mejia. Mariano Francisco. Francisco? Okay. Oh, you already spoke, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Would you like to speak again, or was that your... Okay, Si quieres, pero no necesitas. No. Okay, gracias. Okay, sir?
Yes, my name is Jairo Gaitan Ortiz. I'm a board member at Knesset Israel. I'm representing also the Salvadorian, Guatemalan, and Mexican Jews of our community. Many of them live in the Pico Union area. So what we're asking is just, I mean, we know we have Little Armenia, Chinatown, all those places. Those are great places, but also, I mean, they're little designated places, not like Koreatown, trying to get such a large section. That's something that I have never heard of in 28 years that I've lived in this area. So we're asking also is that we have a dialogue of peace, of friendship, of love. We're not trying to, this is not racist or anything, but just to have a dialogue and enough time to talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Leonardo Magana, followed by, well, sir, what's your name?
Roger Mejia.
Okay, why don't you go ahead while we still wait for Leonardo Magana, Gilberto Portillo, Henry F., and Mario Diaz. Mr. Mejia.
Good afternoon, and thank you for listening. My name is Roger Alexander Mejia, and I immigrated to this country in 1989, San Marino in Vermont, which is Koreatown. I am also a street vendor. That is my business. I'm a vendor in the 11th and Vermont area. I'm a street vendor, and the idea, the proposal of the expansion of Koreatown is really intimidating me, because if it does go through, what's going to happen to all the street vendors in that location? That's one of my concerns, and that's actually a concern also to my family, because if I do lose that opportunity, then it directly affects my family. So I am really, really concerned about that if it does go through, or if it doesn't, then what's going to happen to all the Latino street vendors, not just Salvadorian, not just Guatemalan, but just any street vendor around that area, that if Koreatown does expand, where are we going to go? Where are we going to sell? You know, so that is a big concern for me, my business, and of course my family, which I think she's the only baby here. My daughter and my wife are in the back. They're here. And thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, now I think a number of these people have left, so this will be sort of the last call for them. Leonardo Magana, Gilberto Portillo, Henry F., and Mario Diaz. Going, gone. So that will bring us then to Michael. Is Michael Russell still here? Mr. Russell. Welcome.
Honorable Chairman, honorable council members. My name is Michael Russell. I'm here as a representative from the Wilshire Center Business Improvement District. It's the longest running business improvement district in the city of Los Angeles. It was formed in 1995. I'm here basically just to present some factual documents and reinforce an agreement that was made between myself and the applicant. Los Angeles City Planning Department, City Council File 01366. The Wilshire Community Plan was adopted in September 19, 2001. Which clearly states, and I quote, Wilshire Center is generally bounded by 3rd Street on the north, 8th Street on the south, Hoover on the east, Wilton on the west. Wilton is an established community name per the City Planning Department. Wilshire Community Plan, and I have it here, Chapter 3, page 5, section on regional commercial, and I'll give you copies. And in addition, the Wilshire Center District has had public hearings establishing it for the past 15 years, and to establish this document, it included public input and hearings. We have 2 beautiful monument signs. The Community Redevelopment Agency is called the Wilshire Center Koreatown Project Area. The Neighborhood Council is called the Wilshire Center Koreatown Project Area. Please do not obliterate Wilshire Center. It is real. I also have a documentation from 1975 clearly stating the Wilshire District Plan, which clearly states the same exact boundaries. And Mr. Cheng Lee did agree to these boundaries to be imposed as a overlay in the Koreatown, and it's not in this
one. And we did receive your letter. I'd be happy to receive the materials that you have there as well for the file, and we'll consider that.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That is the last speaker that we have on these 2 items, and so we will be coming back to general public comment, but. Sir, it seems that you wanted to speak on.
1 minute. I have my card also. I don't know how it is missed.
It might be in the wrong stack, but for 1 minute, come on back up and restate your name, please. I'm sorry, sir.
Okay. Again, this is Mujib Siddiqui. I want to assure you, Mr. Chair, that this understanding between the Koreans and Bangladeshi Americans had transformed inter-community detestation into adoration, hatred, into love and agitation, into peace. I clearly understand the concern of the Latino communities when they say that we can clean the street together, plant the tree together, when naming why we are not called. I think your decision to have 60 days so we can have dialogue, wonderful. We'll do that. And one thing I would like to put it on the record, Your Honor, there was not a single opposition against Little Bangladesh, to let the record reflect that nobody has opposed, rather everybody has supported the proposition of Little Bangladesh. And then lastly, this is the 4th year in a row we are having a parade closing the streets of Vermont and neighborhood areas for the first time for a celebration of Little Bangladesh, Bangladesh Day Parade. And we all invite you. It will be in the next weekend, so enjoy. And first one was Grand Marshal was the mayor, and second one was Lee Becker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, very much. And that was, I think, a very nice comment with which to conclude this portion of our agenda, because I have to say, as the chair of this committee, what a remarkable exposition this was, I think, of how these systems are supposed to work and how our communities are supposed to work together. This was a remarkable example, I think, of how with communication and dialogue we can really fulfill the full potential that this city offers, being the multi-ethnic, diverse place that it is. And to see all of you from so many different walks of life and so many different communities come together in common purpose, I think, with and even where there's continuing disagreement, to have a positive, forward-looking, problem-solving approach towards one another, I think has really been inspiring. And so I want to thank you all and congratulate you on having that approach to this problem. So thank you all very much. And with that, it will be the chair's recommendation to continue items 1 and 2 until the next regularly scheduled ENN meeting at least 60 days from now, and to modify the existing applications consistent with the compromise agreement reached by CD4's staff and Mr. Labange and the community. And I will further ask that all relevant departments who have not yet reported on these items provide a written report prior to the continued hearing on this matter 60 days from now. And that will be the chair's recommendation, and that concludes this item. Thank you all very, very much. That brings us now to general public comment. So if there's anyone left who would like to speak on general matters before the jurisdiction of this committee, you're free to do so. So I will go through these names quickly to see who still is here who wishes to comment. Jay Kim, Mr. Kim, followed by Isabel Cardenas. So Mr. Kim. Followed by Ruben Moran.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just want to make one quick comment on the
1 minute, please.
One of the leaders from the South American community. The young leader said I was touched by his memory of growing up in town, but I would like to encourage him to think in perspective. We are all trying to show our different color to make the city of Los Angeles beautiful in all. And this is when somebody is expressing his color, it should be taking away the color of others. So by expressing the town, the intention is not to take away that memory and the health cultural root of the other community. For example, especially when it is Latin American community, because I remember 1980 when I was passing through this town, I said, where can I get some Korean food? And they say, go to Olympic. So that's kind of, this was, okay. But I think when I was traveling Washington Boulevard years ago, I see this vast community of Latino shops and streets. Wow, we call that little part of the Korean town. We have this big town of a Latino community bustling like this. And I think it's only fair we ask a little bit of this part for our symbolism.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Kim. Ms. Cardenas.
Yes,
followed by Ruben Moran, followed by Carmen Vaughn.
I think I was misunderstood when I was first talking about the next meeting. You just said that within 60 days there will be a meeting. I want some clarification. will it be this committee that will have it in 60 days, or is it going to be intermediate committees between the people involved and the others that are
Sure.
wanting to dialogue?
Let me clarify for you quickly.
Yes.
This committee will meet again on this agenda item 60 days from now at a regularly scheduled meeting of this committee in City Hall. And we will complete our consideration of this matter and make a recommendation to the City Council at that time.
Okay.
Between now and then, the community, I hope, will have all sorts of community-based meetings to discuss it as well, and with Mr. Labange's office and
Yes.
among yourselves.
Yes,
But that
okay.
will not be led by this committee or directed by this
No,
committee.
that's why I said I think I was misunderstood. What I wanted to make sure is that that on the website we would be able to have the date that this committee will have the meeting, because we were under the impression that it had been canceled today. That's how it appeared on the web. And then we found out that it wasn't, that it was canceled, that it was moved from 3 o'clock to 2. And I just wanted an assurance that what we would see on the website for the next meeting would be, would be so, that it wouldn't be moved.
Well, I can't give you that assurance because things change quickly in City Hall.
Yes, but if it's moved.
Ma'am, yes, there was a glitch in the scheduling of today's hearing.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
All right.
Things happen in City Hall.
No, I
so
understand.
watch, our agendas. Watch this committee's agendas. 60 days from now, this committee will rehear this matter. So, I think all of the leaders in your community will be watching carefully, and we'll do our best to ensure that whatever is agendized actually goes forth. I can't guarantee it because things just change.
Yeah, so if there's a change, it'll say changed, not canceled. It's just that in the website yesterday it said meeting canceled.
I understand. We'll do the best we can.
Thank
okay,
you
our next
so much.
speaker is
That's
Ruben
all. I just
Moran,
wanna
followed
make sure
by
that-
Carmen Vaughn. Mr. Lee has already left. Mr. Chang Lee has already left. And has Mr. Bradley already left? Brad Lee already left. Carmen Vaughn already left. And Ruben Moran already left. Ma'am.
Yo quiero agradecerle a cada uno de ustedes
Gracias.
por la apertura. Y el mundo está lleno de guerras, hay mucha pobreza y no nos queremos adueñar de las tierras, somos temporales, nos vamos a ir de esta vida.
Yeah, she's pretty much saying that, as an immigrant, we come here to do our best, and at the same time, to, do, a work that actually is being recognized by all the citizens of Los Angeles.
Estamos muy respetuosos de las autoridades y muchísimas gracias por esta apertura, por promover el diálogo, ¿verdad? Vimos una actitud muy positiva, neutral.
We are very respectful for the authorities to have the chance to include the community, and at the same time, we have seen that this meeting has become very neutral, and the community is willing to work as long as we come together and definitely agree to those items.
Y queremos pues que trabajemos en la armonía con todas las naciones que existen en este lugar tan pequeño como es Pico Union, una armonía, paz, para que nos podamos desarrollar y vivir en tranquilidad.
We would like to, live in peace and harmony with the different communities, and we really appreciate that this meeting is actually being a good.
Y entendemos que ustedes juegan un papel muy difícil pero muy importante y poderoso también.
We understand that you guys play a very difficult leadership, but at the same time, we really appreciate for your leadership to include our community.
Aún más poderosos con el apoyo de la comunidad. Muchas gracias.
You'll be more empowered by the community as you leadership move forward. Thank you.
Claro que sí. Muchísimas gracias. Okay, and we are concluded. Thank you very much.